Anne wakes up from a terrible nightmare, shaken but ready to brush it off as she heads out to dinner with her boyfriend Patrick and friends. But the night takes a turn when Patrick casually announces they're getting married. This doesn't sit well with Anne. Frustrated, she steps outside, calling a cab to go back to her apartment alone. Yet despite Anne's insistence and her friend Jessica backing her up, Patrick forces his way into the cab with her. Just as the cab pulls away, Jessica notices something strange. The windows are so fogged up she can't see inside. Before Anne and Patrick realize what's happening, they're trapped in the cab with Ian, their driver, and soon their kidnapper. Ian brings up a detail that only Anne would remember. He once drove her home from the hospital. He reveals he knows something Anne hasn't even told Patrick yet. She's pregnant. While Anne and Patrick are reeling from this unexpected reveal, Ian stops on an empty, eerie stretch of a road, steps out to make a call, and returns with a taser. He uses it on Patrick, ties him up, and binds Anne in the back seat. Panicked, Anne starts to glimpse ghostly shapes in the street and in the rearview mirror, making her even more desperate to escape. Then Ian drops their destination, Maple Hill, a road infamous for being the most haunted in England. According to legend, it's haunted by the spirit of a mother who died while trying to escape her husband. They found her child alone in the nearby forest, but her body was never recovered. As Anne's fear grows, she realizes this ride isn't just about a kidnapping, it's a journey straight into her worst nightmare. They finally arrive at their destination, the parking lot of an eerie, abandoned hotel. Ian makes Anne help him carry Patrick inside, in the guise that he'll keep him alive. But there's more going on here. The ghost that haunts Ian's cab isn't just a random spirit. It has history with him. It all started when Ian drove down Maple Hill after a brutal fight with his wife. That night, he spotted the ghost on the roadside, and ever since, it's followed him, lurking in his cab and prying into his darkest thoughts, waiting for an opportunity. Back home, Ian soon found his worst fear realized. The ghost appeared over his son's crib, her gaze empty and wanting. When she died in a car accident, her child somehow surviving while she was left to wander the roadside and forests, searching endlessly for another child to subdue the gaping absence of her own. Desperate to protect his son, Ian struck a deal with her to bring her another child. A few days later, he picked up Anne outside the hospital, and she became his target. As the truth crashes over her, Anne's terrified. She grabs Ian's keys and bolts, racing to get herself and Patrick out. But before she can unlock the fence, Ian catches up, and in a brutal move, he slashes Patrick's throat. Heartbroken and horrified, Anne runs, searching for an escape. She makes it to the cab, starts the engine, but before she can drive off, Ian drags her through the window, taking her back to Maple Hill, the very spot he first encountered the ghost. Ian thinks he has everything set for the deal, but Anne delivers a shocking twist. She's not pregnant. The baby she was carrying was lost shortly after that hospital visit. Her child had been taken by the ghost before it could even be born, a truth she's only now forced to accept. As this realization sinks in, Anne breaks down, her grief and fury blending into a desperate plea to the ghost, demanding her baby back. In that moment, she becomes the ghost's mirror image, a mother consumed by loss, wandering the haunted woods, desperate and vengeful. Distracted and shaken, Ian gets back into his cab to escape, but as he speeds down the dark road, Anne appears, stepping directly in front of his car. He slams into her, yet when he gets out to check, there's no sign of her body. Unbeknownst to him, he has now created a new ghost of Mabel Hill, Anne, who haunts the back seat of his cab.